By the end of today, that's Friday, the 16th of January, or maybe even before the end of today, West Ham fans will know one way or another whether Lucas Paqueta will still be a West Ham United player for the rest of this season or not. If he does remain, it will likely be part of a deal where Flamengo, who are going to buy him, will then loan him straight back to West Ham so he can see out the rest of this season. Alternatively, if he does go, there are suggestions that Flamengo are offering a player swap plus cash deal involving Gonzalo Plata. And I'll talk about Plata in a moment. If you're new to the West Ham Voice, or if you've watched the channel before but yet to become a subscriber, there's a QR code appearing in that top corner there. You can click on that after the video and become a subscriber. It costs nothing to subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy the content, please do hit the like button, which is below the video. You can also promote the video for me. You can click a hype button, which allows other viewers to watch the video. And if you're feeling generous, there is a West Ham Voice membership scheme for $1.99 a month. You get additional small content, and all the money that's raised through the membership scheme goes to Prostate Cancer UK. So what about this whole thing with Paqueta? It's been throughout the whole of his career at West Ham United, he seems to be in the news mainly for all the wrong reasons. And the latest saga, of course, throughout the whole of this week has been about him coming back from injury and wanting to play and leave the club and play for Flamengo, the club that he started his career at. Sometimes things move quite fast during a transfer window, and the speed at which a deal is being sorted out for the sale of Paqueta is happening at a rapid pace. And today, a decision will be made on the future of the player, one way or another. But whether he joins Flamengo for the start of the Brazilian season, which kicks off in March, or whether he happens to still be here to see the end of this Premier League season, is still being negotiated. There are two transfer scenarios on the table. And for once, it looks as if West Ham seem to have the upper hand. And that's quite unusual for a club that rarely makes any kind of gain when it comes to selling players. Scenario one is as follows. Lucas Paqueta is sold to Flamengo for a fee of around £35 million and is immediately loaned back to West Ham to see out the remainder of this season. Or scenario two, Lucas Paqueta is sold to Flamengo for a fee of around £20 million and Gonzalo Plata, who is reported to be worth up to £15 million, is thrown into the mix and he transfers to West Ham immediately. Discussions were held throughout Thursday and are set to conclude today. But so far, anyone closely involved with the deal is staying tight-lipped, and I'm sure we're going to find out later today what the outcome of those discussions have been. As for Nuno, well, dependent on which social media column you follow, he's either reported to accept that keeping an unhappy Paqueta is not necessarily the best option all round, and in other social media columns, he's quoted Nuno as saying that West Ham must do all it can to look after Paqueta. After all, he's been through with the spot-fixing charges that have hung over him over the last 2 years. Nuno has again reiterated that he believes Paqueta is valuable to West Ham and that we need our best players to get us out of the relegation predicament that we find ourselves in. So from that, would he really want Paqueta to leave now? The two options available, I would imagine, that Nuno is pushing hard to at least get Paqueta to stay on loan until the season ends. Having said that, if the inevitable happens and Paqueta is sold, the player himself has also reported to be happy for a deal to be struck where he does see out the rest of the season as well. So maybe Nuno will get his way. Is that a win-win for Nuno, for the player, for the club? I guess the answer to that can only be found when we see which Lucas Paqueta we might still have on the playing field. If he goes back to being his mercurial self, then wonderful. If he goes through the motions until the end of May, then perhaps it isn't such a good idea to have him sticking around after all. But what about the fans? Will they support and cheer Paqueta if he does stay on loan? Or will they turn against him for wanting to leave in the first place? I mentioned just the other day that I do believe that we may be better without Paqueta, the distraction that's hanging over our heads. Whatever happens today, and with a player apparently suffering from a back injury, the likelihood of Paqueta being available for selection in the London derby against Spurs this coming weekend is pretty slim. If he's not available for selection, then this will give Nuno and the players an opportunity to demonstrate that life indeed may be better off without Paqueta. A decisive action really needs to happen today. We can't allow this Paqueta situation to linger on beyond the weekend or into the weekend itself, because what Nuno needs and what the players need is to focus purely on the Spurs game this coming weekend. The two transfer scenarios really does put West Ham in the driving seat for a change, and it will test Flamengo's resolve as to how much they really want Paqueta at their club. If Flamengo really have offered anything up to £35 million, as well as agreeing for Paqueta to stay on loan with us for the rest of this season, then that would be worth another £2.8 million to West Ham, because Flamengo are likely to be asked to cover the player's wages, 150 grand a week, for the next 19 weeks. Of course, if he does stay, and if it gets to a point in the season where mathematically we can no longer stay up, then perhaps West Ham will cut short his loan deal and allow him to leave sooner rather than later, rather than when the season ends. But what about the other deal on the table? And who exactly is the player that we're being offered in part exchange for Paqueta? Who is Gonzalo Plata, and would he be a decent replacement? Well, Plata is a quick, direct, left-footed winger with strong dribbling skills and counter-attacking traits. It could add pace and wide threat to the current squad, but he wouldn't be a direct replacement to Lucas Paqueta's creative midfield role. I guess you could say Plata is best viewed as a complementary wide option rather than a like-for-like upgrade. He does have some decent strengths, however. He's got pace, his directness, he's known for his explosive acceleration and taking defenders on in one-to-one situations, and it makes him a valuable player for counter-attacking play. And we know that's what Nuno aspires to do. He's strong at beating fullbacks and creating overloads on the flanks. He's useful for stretching defenses and delivering crosses and cutbacks. He does have versatility in him as well. He can actually play across the front line. And last season for Flamengo, he did play either as a striker or on the right side of attack, but he can also play on both wings. He's got international experience, being a regular for Ecuador, the national team, having made 47 appearances with 8 goals. And in 2025 season at Flamengo, he made 50 appearances in all competitions, scoring 5 goals with 9 assists. So he's a good creator of goals. And he could link up pretty well with our new striker, Tati. He's only 25 years of age, 3 years younger than Paqueta, and still has a contract in place at Flamengo until 2029. Now, he's not the perfect player. For an attacking player, perhaps he should score more goals. But then I guess you could say that the same of Paqueta or any other attacking player that we've got at West Ham at this moment in time. He does lack defensive contributions. Compared with Premier League wide midfielders, tracking back and positional discipline can be a bit variable for the player. So he may need coaching from Nuno to be a bit more structured when it comes to defending. But could he be a good tactical fit for Nuno? Well, Nuno does value quick transitions and the use of wide players. Plata's pace and directness would suit the counter-attacking phases that Nuno prefers. Now, why he might not be ideal is that he's not a central playmaker. he won't replace Lucas Paqueta's role of linking midfield to attack. So he won't be setting the tempo, he won't be controlling the tempo, and there won't be any creativity in the middle of the park. So, like I said, he wouldn't necessarily be a like for like replacement. If West Ham need an attacking, wide, pacier midfielder to stretch defences, and the fact that we can cover for either Somerville or for Bowen, then yes, Plata is a pretty good deal to go after. But when it comes to central midfield, I guess this gives Matthias Fernandes the opportunity to step into that advanced role on a permanent basis. He did it for Southampton. He does that for the Portuguese under-21 team as well. Now, Fernandes is not a playmaker in the shape of Paqueta, but he does offer altogether a more robust attacking central midfield option. So look, there are options available. It does look as if Paqueta is leaving, and whether he actually physically leaves in this window or whether he signs for Flamengo but then stays at West Ham until the end of the season is yet to be seen. That is all being negotiated as we speak. From my point of view, I've got to be really honest with you. I think it's time that we draw a line under Lucas Paqueta, allow him to leave. I personally don't think it will be the right thing to do to let him stay. I just feel that even though he may say he's going to stay at West Ham on loan until the end of the season, how much of a commitment he's going to make, I'm really, really not sure. His mind is already distracted. His heart is already set on Flamengo. I understand the reasons for why he wants to go. He wants to bring his family up there, etc. And I get all that. I don't think the one thing we should do is force a player to stay at a club that he just doesn't really want to be at anymore. Is the timing good? No, it's not. It's pretty bad. It's been pretty bad all season for us with the way that things have been going. And this just adds an additional stress to the whole scenario of battling relegation. It's not needed. It's not necessary. It's unfortunate that we're having to go through this. So my feeling is whether it be getting the 35 million and letting him go, I think what will happen is if Flamengo don't agree to loaning him back, West Ham are going to be looking for up to 40 million pounds rather than 35 that's been offered. So but for me, I think just let him go. Demand more money, let him go. Even if Plata doesn't come as a swap deal, I think just let him go and start looking for alternatives to try and get West Ham United out of the situation that we're in. I'm sure we're going to hear more about all this as the hours tick by. So do look out for more updates. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Do subscribe. Do hit the like button, and I'll see you all soon.